I often get asked to review other scoliosis experts' videos on their exercise, and I don't like doing that because it's very easy to take a 30-second reel and just critique it and say everything they're doing wrong. But I also want to be able to teach you how to look at someone's videos and see what else could you do to make it better if you're going to just follow their videos. So we're going to look at 4 experts in the field. We're going to take 4 videos off their Instagram, and we're going to have a look at them and say, okay, what do I look for a good scoliosis exercises, what you should look for, and what could you do in addition to what these people are showing. So hopefully I'm going to educate you a little bit on how to create your own scoliosis sort of rehab program from free resources on the internet. All right, we're going to start with a guy called Victor Makarin. Now, he's a doctor of physical therapy, and his tag on Instagram is at Makarin, M-A-K-A-R-I-N. Secondly, we're going to look at Rodrigo. His handle is Rodrigo Andrade Physiotherapia. Thirdly, we're going to look at Madaz Mariwa. He's a physiotherapist, and his handle is Physical Therapy Session. And lastly, we're going to look at Dr. Kate Blanchard, and she's a Stroth PT, and her handle is at Stroth Boss. All right, let's start with Victor. So Victor's got a really simple exercise here where he starts with a person kneeling, which stabilizes the pelvis, so that's a good thing to look for. And then he opens up the short side of the curve. The curve he's talking about here, or he's demonstrating, is what we call a reverse C-shaped scoliosis when looking at someone from behind. And in medical literature, this would be called a dextroscoliosis, dextro being right, and the apex of the curve is on the right. Okay, so he's lifting up that curve, and he may be breathing in when he's doing that, which is fantastic. And then he's going into a full stretch on that left side of the body. His pelvis is staying relatively aligned, which is fantastic. And he's opening up the short side of the curve. So great exercise for that. Secondly, he moves into a traction type movement where the hand goes up above his head, and then goes again into the long stretch up over the head. So he's using 2 planes of motion, I call this. He's using traction to lengthen his spine one way, and then he's using the frontal plane left and right motion to move the spine the other way. And he's cautioning there not to go into the pose going backwards to where you came from, so not to go into your old posture. So I think this is a fantastic mobility exercise or a stretch exercise for people with this type of curve. What he hasn't done, unfortunately, is he hasn't addressed the third plane of motion, which is rotation. So he's got traction, which is sort of taking the head backwards, or if it's backwards, taking it forward slightly by reaching upwards. So that's great. He's got the plane of motion going up and over like this, so we call the frontal plane, but he hasn't taken care of the rotation. So that rib hump on the right side there, that's very, very common in scoliosis. So just watch out for that. I would add in perhaps a little bit of a forward hand movement to take those ribs forward as I did those exercises if I was to copy this. All right, let's have a look at Rodrigo. So Rodrigo has a really nice setup here, and there is actually some talking with this, and I don't speak, I think it's Portuguese, so I can't tell you what he's saying exactly, but he's got a really nice graphic here of the person's X-ray on top of their back, and we can see that they've got a reverse S shape. So there's an apex up in their mid back with the apex on the right hand side, and then there's another apex in their lower back with the apex on the left hand side. All right, we got the setup, so their right knee is down, so that's going to be tilting the pelvis a little bit, and that's going to be taking care or changing the bottom curve from the bottom up, from the pelvis upwards. So it's a really nice setup he's got the person in here. And then what we're doing is he's going to simply ask them to lift their left hand, which is going to help straighten that upper curve. Okay, if they've got the mobility to do that just by lifting a hand, that's going to be fantastic. So he's taking care of the lower curve in the frontal plane and the upper curve in the frontal plane. So fantastic position. Then he's asked the person to breathe in and breathe out. Maybe he's doing what the Stroth calls a directional breath. So he might be breathing into one side of the curve or the other side of the curve, depending on what he's trying to do. But this is fantastic because the way the ribs move when you breathe in, they open up and they actually help the spine move as well. And when the spine moves, it helps the ribs move. So breathing and exercising and holding positions like this is a fantastic way of getting some changes into the body. He also then positions her into a slightly different position with the right hand up. So just like the last video, he's getting traction as well, or at least elongation by lifting the arm up, as well as holding the person into the static position. So great exercise, but it is missing, as we had in the last video, he's missing the rotation component as well. So there'll be a thickening in this lady's upper right back, and sometimes her scapula will be a little bit prominent, but it's not so obvious on this picture here. So taking that right hand forward a little bit would be fantastic, and that will just add that little extra dimension to this exercise. Okay, let's look at Mads and see what he is up to in this exercise. Okay, so we actually have a series of exercises here. The first one is he's kneeling, and this is fantastic because it puts the spine in a completely different relationship with gravity. Ordinarily, the head is being pushed down on the spine and compressing the joints, but when you're kneeling, gravity is pushing on the spine in a shearing type motion, and that is causing, or could cause extra movement to happen in the spine that you don't get when you're standing up. Also, he's put his hips next to the wall, which is a really, really good position because it's going to stop the hips from moving. Then he's taking his shoulders off to the right. Fantastic. This is going to be opening up that shorter side, same as Victor in the first video. It's a C-shaped curve, apex to the right. And then we probably do some breathing in this position. He's saying a 30-second hold. Great. Next, he's taking it to standing up. Exactly the same position, almost. We're getting a good stretch through the hips and opening up the short side of the curve up onto the wall. And thirdly, he's doing the same thing now with both knees together facing the wall like this. So 3 really, really good exercises. What they're missing, as you might be picking up on now, they're missing that third plane though, the transverse plane, the rotation. And to me, that's the all-important plane. So what can happen sometimes is when you're going completely after the frontal plane, so going left and right like this, the spine can actually rotate even more, and it can make that a little bit worse. So it's very important to try and get some rotation in there when you're doing these type of exercises. Okay, lastly, Dr. Blanchard, let's see what she has. Okay, so she's got a very simple traction exercise. So she's got a person using the stall bars and a band. And this is a great exercise to add length into the spine. She's not attempting to address the changes in the frontal plane left and right. She's not addressing the changes in the rotation. She's just going for length in the spine. This would be a great exercise to use as a sort of a warm-up prior to scoliosis specific exercises, because it's going to elongate the spine and it's going to get you prepared for your exercise. Especially doing this with some deep breaths, it's going to open up the ribs at the front, traction the spine, and create some nice changes there. So if you imagine like scoliosis is like a bending of the spine, if you pull one end up and pull the other end down, you're going to get a slight change in it anyway. So that's what she's going for with this exercise. All right, now, there is this caveat that we're just taking these 30-second exercises and critique them a little bit, but I've also hopefully showed you what we could do better. We could add something to these exercises. Now, to get more complete in a whole scoliosis protocol, you can't just do one exercise. You have to think about how you can increase mobility in the top curve or the bottom curve if you have 2 curves, how you can do that in probably 5, 10 different ways, using your breath, using different positions with your hand and head, using your pelvis. But then once you've got that extra mobility, we want to add strength or stability so your body can hold those positions. And so you'll be looking to do exercises with resistance bands, with hand weights, with ankle weights, to add strength to the muscles that can hold the spine straighter. And lastly, once you've got some strength in there, you also want to add endurance, because gravity is a 24-hour problem. And, when we go around our day standing up for however many hours we're standing up during the day, our head is being pushed down, and gravity is the thing that's going to make our scoliosis worse. So we need to have endurance or stamina so the muscles can hold us up straight against gravity, as straight as we can be. So by all means, I think you should go out there, look at everything that's available on the internet, pull things from different people, put it all together, but make sure they're including those 3 parts: the strength, the stability or the mobility, and the endurance, and also correcting the spine in those 3 different ways. Now, if you want help doing that, then just click the link in the description below and you can book a call with me or one of my team, and we can discuss the best ways that we can help you manage your scoliosis from home.